Welcome. This is Donna Anderson here, and this week we're doing abstract drawing. Now, I've geared this toward 10 to 12-year-olds, but if you're older or younger, go ahead and try it. Won't hurt. I'm not going to give you a grade, so you should be fine. What we're going to do today is one that looks kind of like this, and then one that I'm going to finish that looks like this. Now, we start this both the same ways, but they're going to come up with some different results. Now, what is an abstract drawing? Now, if I just take and scribble on something and show it to you and go, oh, it's abstract. It's not. There has to be something here. Remember, we've talked about this before. It comes from here, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and then what you put down on paper so that somebody else can look at it and try to think about what you were thinking or to feel what you were feeling. You want some kind of reaction from the person. So if you just scribble and there's no thought involved, why would there be some thought involved from the person who looks at it? So an abstract drawing, let me give you a definition. Okay, the subject of the work is not something that looks like a picture, but you do see the color, you see the shape, you see the size, you see whether it's distorted, but you probably won't see what's in the picture in the real world. Is that clear? Probably not. But let's get started and then we'll see what you think. Okay, so this is what we're going to start with. And the way I began this picture was to lay down a ground. Now, you've heard background, middle ground, foreground. Well, a ground is what you're going to work on. So I'm going to work on this piece of paper, and you're probably saying, that's a dirty piece of paper. Well, it doesn't matter because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it look like this. So I'm going to use this. Now, this is called graphite, powdered graphite. Now, powdered graphite is what comes off of your pencil. And if you empty your shavings out and you get rid of the wood part, then you would have the graphite in here. So let me just say that if you open this, you better have an adult next to you. Because if you drop this, this will go everywhere. Just look at that. And it will be so dark. And I'm only going to use this much at a time. So I'm going to take and use this much and put it in the middle of my paper there. I'm going to move this out of the way and I'm going to put the top on it right now. Because if I dump it, oh my goodness. Okay, take a piece of paper towel and just wrap it around your finger like this. And then hold on to it with this finger. So that you're just going to take and put it in the middle. And you're going to start rubbing in a circular motion. Now don't rub hard, just rub lightly. And as you start to rub it, look at that. You're getting a nice, even area that's going to be a ground that you're going to work into. Now if you run out and it doesn't work anymore, then you can put just a little bit more down there. Now, after you've gone in a circle around this, you can go back and kind of buff it like you're shining it, and it'll make it more even, okay? And you're going to work all the way out to the edges. So I've already done that, and ta-da, here we are. Now, instead of taking a pencil, I'm going to use an eraser. Now, this is a white eraser. And you can see that where I had the cardboard around it, it's kind of turned black, but it still works. And when I use this, it will make white areas come up in the ground. Now I'm going to go back and get my little piece of paper towel that had this on it, because if I decide that I don't like that line, I'll just take and rub over it again, and look at that. It's like magic. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a shape. Now in the picture that I showed you before, this one right here, I used circles. And I ended up making them look like spheres instead of just flat circles. But you can have them look flat also. So we're going to not use circles this time. We're going to use a rectangle. So I'm going to make a rectangle. Okay. And then I think I'm going to have another one go out that way. And it would kind of be like if you had Legos or dominoes and had them all stacked up on top of each other. And I want this to come out a little farther. So I'm going to rub that out right there so it's even. I love it. It's like it's magic. Okay. And then I'm going to make a skinny one come up this way. And if you'll notice, this is really dirty. So if you'll have a paper towel handy, you can move this over a little bit. And you can take and erase onto the paper towel or onto another piece of paper. And when you do that, it cleans off the eraser. And you'll have another area that you can use. Because you want to use these edges. They're like using a pencil or using a marker. The edge of it will make a nice clean line. And you see it's not really showing up on here. It just kind of rubs the eraser part off. And if those little things stick out, just pull them off. Okay. So let's move this back over here and get this where you can see it. And remember I told you in another lesson that you can change things, move it around. So I'm going to have another rectangle here. And this one's going to go off the page. And it's going to be behind these two. So it's going to go all the way over. Off the page over here. Now I don't really like it coming off the page on that point. So I'm going to make it a little bigger. And you're thinking, she doesn't have any idea what she's doing. Well, I want you to think about that. You should be making decisions as you do your artwork. No, I don't have a regular plan because I may not do what I originally thought. Sometimes whatever you have in mind for your picture doesn't necessarily come out exactly the same as in your mind. So it's okay to change. All right, so that's bigger. And then I'm going to have one start over here and go behind that one and come out over here and go off the page. All right, now I have this and it looks like it's all even up here. So let's see. Let's just make some lines. So I can have lines that go off the page that way. Now so far this isn't very interesting, is it? So why don't we make this rectangle just white? So that means erase all of what's inside. This one I can erase some of it. But I can rub it with my finger and let it gradually change and be a lot whiter over here at this edge. And then let this stay darker on top. So that's looking a lot different, isn't it? So you just continue to work on it. You can also take and get the eraser part off. And that's beginning to look like a kind of a nice picture. All right. Now on this one, you'll notice I put some more pencil back onto it. Now, what kind of pencil should you use? Well, you can use your regular number 2 yellow pencil. You could erase with that eraser if you want to. You can use drawing pencils like these. And if I turn them this way, you could probably read them. These are all 2B pencils. They're just different kinds. And it'll say 2B. What does 2B mean? Well, the B means black. It means it's darker. And then there's another pencil with an H, and it means harder. Harder is lighter. Black is softer, so that you're going to get a darker color on it. Now you can also get a whole set of pencils like this. You can go to an art store. This one has vine charcoal. It has charcoal pencils, and it has different size, different darkness of pencils. This particular one is a 2H. This one was a 2B. So if I take a 2H and make a line, and I make a 2B and make a line, can you tell that this is darker? And if you'll notice, I used the same pressure. I pressed it down here, I pressed it down here, and this one is darker. So if you're going to be using a pencil and coloring it in, or cross-hatching, or just scribbling, whatever you're going to do, it's going to be lighter with this H pencil than it is with this B pencil. So if you'll just remember, hard means lighter, the H, and B, the black, means blacker or softer, then you can keep it straight. Now the higher the number, the softer or harder it is. This one is a 6B. So a 6B is going to be a lot darker. So look at that. You can tell that that's a lot darker than this one. So if you want a whole different group of pencils, then you could get a set like this. You don't have to do that. You can just use a regular pencil and then press harder or not press harder. Okay, now let's move this out of the way. And I'm going to bring this picture over. Now this picture is one that I've already started. And what I did on this one, let me bring this one back. What I did on this one is where I had erased in here, then I started to outline it. So I'm going to use my 6B, and I can outline parts of this. I can draw on top of that where I have erased it. And it's not going to be as easy to erase this pencil as it was to erase the ground. Well, maybe it is going to be as easy. Sometimes it's not. It depends on the paper. And this evidently is a good one. So you can draw on top of it. So this one still needs a whole lot of work to be finished. So I'm going to just move it away and work on this one. Now I should mention, if you like to stay clean, you probably won't. Look at my hands already. And I haven't really done a whole lot yet. But it washes off, I promise. And you're washing your hands a lot anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to draw some more on here. I didn't color this in. So I may color this a little bit on this side. And I can use scribbles. Now, there are all kinds of ways to make lines. On this particular part, I kind of made little dotted lines or dashes. In fact, I made you a list. Right here, I have a list of different lines that you could use. You could have a straight line, you could have a curvy line, you could have a wavy line, you could have a thick line, thin line, a loopy line, scalloped, dotted, dashed, bumpy, zigzag, a castle, you know, like the little tops of a castle, spiral. You could use all different ones in a row, or just a scribbly line like that. And you could actually make yourself a little list like this if you wanted to. And that way, when you got ready to work on your drawing, you could choose different lines to use on it. Now, let me say something about drawing. This class lasts for just a week, and you'll see 5 different lessons. And it's not going to cover everything in depth. Drawing is mainly done as a mark that you've made. People who draw are mark makers, and they make those marks with a pencil, or they make it with an eraser, or they make it with with a piece of charcoal or a marker. So I can go back with my eraser and I can erase some things in here and make it a dash. If you'll notice. And I might need to clean my eraser again. If I don't like that, I can rub it in and leave that darker. If I don't like the way this is, I could go back with a little bit of my graphite, but you need to be really careful with your graphite powder. If you use too much of it, it just gets to where it's everywhere. That's where it is. Anyway, I can continue to work on this. And, you know, there's probably a good 2 hours more that I could do to this picture. I can color this solid if I want. I think, personally, that a scribbled line lets some white come through, and it lets people look at it and decide if they like that or not. It can be just solid if you want it to be. But marks are interesting. Now, if you look at this, what kind of feeling do you get from this? When I'm looking at it, or when I was doing it kind of hard. And so these are kind of not angry, but hard marks. Like if I was going to say it like this. But if I was going to talk like this and have a nice little soft talk, then I might make the lines like this. And they might just go all over the place. And they might be little wanderers, like little wisps of smoke. And you're scribbling all over your picture. Well, yeah, I kind of am, but I'm going to do other stuff to it. So this is that really dark pencil. If I go back with my 2H, I can press down harder, but it's not going to be darker. Do you notice that? That I'm pressing down harder and I'm coloring it in, but it's not going to be darker. Okay, so I think I've done enough of this. So what I want you to think about doing for this particular lesson, and I'm going to leave it up to you, is I want you to take a shape. I want you to put a ground down on a piece of paper. If you don't have any graphite, that's okay. Get the darkest pencil that you have, like this 6B, and you can take and just lightly begin to color across it like this. And you're going to color the whole page like this. So once you color on it like this, you want it to be smoother and you want it to be more even. So if you'll take your paper towel and just wrap it around your finger like this, you can take and rub that with your paper towel. And look, that's almost like this. So when you use your eraser on it, you can also get nice lines out of it as you would on here. So you're going to take and put a ground down. Then you're going to use your eraser. You're going to choose a shape. On this one I chose a circle. On this one I chose square or rectangle. You want your shapes to be related. That means that they look like each other. I wouldn't put a big circle in the middle of this because it doesn't go with that one. I wouldn't put a big square in the middle of this one because it doesn't go with that one. Now, I say it doesn't go with it because that's the assignment that I'm giving you. You obviously could do that in another picture, but in this particular picture, I want you to stick to one shape. Okay, after you work on your picture a little bit, then have somebody, an adult in your house, to take a picture of it. And you can send that to the museum. I'd love to see what you do. Now, don't copy mine, all right? And I want to see what you do. And I want you to have a good time. Talk to you later. Bye.